Hi, Dr. P here with another entry in the Nuts and Bolts of Game Design series. And this time I'm going to talk about what I call a fail mechanic. The idea that you can have a cooperative game that has just one winner instead of all the people cooperating winning. Now this is related to what is often called the gentleman's fallacy. It's a notion amongst game designers and players that people will always play a game the way the designer had in mind. Unfortunately, gamer tastes are so diverse, this is often not true. If there's a way to play the game within the rules and succeed, even if it wasn't what the designer had in mind, somebody's going to do it. Because there are lots of people who play to win. Even Reiner Knizia says, the object is to win even if you don't win. Turtling or camping, for example. Some players will say that's unsportsmanlike, especially in video games, but if it leads to success, it leads to a win, then winners won't care what those other players say. They're going to camp or turtle. And that's the problem that the designer has. However you want to define gentlemen, many players are not gentlemen in that way. So, a cooperative game that has just one winner relies on the gentleman's fallacy. The idea is that all the players could lose, so they have to cooperate, but only one actually wins, the one who does best amongst them, which of course encourages people not to cooperate, which is a problem to begin with. But the whole thing is crap, because there will be players who, seeing that they cannot win, make sure their side loses. Those players will think that being one loser amongst everyone is better than being a loser when there's a winner. And this is not theoretical. I think this way. I wouldn't play a game that's a co-op with one winner because I know how I would behave. Nonetheless, there are many players who would play this way. Now, this might be realistic. For example, in Republic of Rome, where the Roman factions are fighting for superiority within Rome, but they also have to fight off the barbarians. And if it works for the game, okay. Nonetheless, there will be people who mess it up because of how they look at things. So given this likelihood, I'm not going to design it into a commercial game. I have designed it into a non-commercial game, a version of Zombie Risk. Players play against one another, but also against the zombies, which is realistic. But I suspect with more testing, I'll decide that it needs to be full co-op, even though that's not at all like what real Risk is. Certainly the choice is there. Can a designer assume people playing his or her game will be right thinkers, which is what this gentleman's fallacy is? You can assume that, but it's not likely to be true. Now, what's going to be the result? There's going to be considerable frustration for everyone when one or more players are not right thinkers but play within the rules. That's why my advice is look for another way or design another game. Otherwise, you're just going to generate frustration and discontent in some players of your game, and that's not a good thing for your reputation. Can you legislate right thinking? In other words, put it in the rules that somehow makes people play like right thinkers. Can you write sportsmanship or right thinking into the rules? Well, if you can do so in terms of game mechanics, then do. But if you just vaguely prohibit or encourage a certain kind of behavior, that's not going to work. All it's going to do is cause arguments. It would be like trying to prohibit negotiation. Even if people can't say a word, they can negotiate with body language and so on. It just doesn't work. Now, what I'm saying here is not prescriptive, it's descriptive. That is to say, I'm not grading your design, I don't review games, I can't actually care how you design your game, so do whatever you want. But if you use this mechanic, I think you're making a big mistake, and I've tried to explain why. Your mileage may vary. So to sum up, you cannot design games in a vacuum. They're played by game players, and if some method of play will ruin the game, design the game so that it cannot happen successfully. You can't prevent players from just being wackos and playing bizarrely, but if they quickly lose because they do, then that's going to discourage that kind of behavior. Thanks for listening.